Hey guys, so today I just want to preface off this video with saying that I have been sick since I think it's been a week today. So I've had a cold, so I sound really bad, I look really bad, and that's because I feel bad. The only thing I did to prepare for this video was put on a bra and put my hair up, so yeah, that's just because like I feel like we're family, guys. Like, I just don't care. I mean, maybe it's just that, like, I'm just too lazy, but I don't know. Anyway, so today I'm going to be talking about how I received my Ehlers Danlos diagnosis. I remember I started watching a few YouTubers who had EDS, but not because they had EDS, but because they had POTS, which is what I was first diagnosed with in around the summer of 2018. So, I can also do a video about that diagnosis. It's probably a much longer story than this one, but yeah, I can tell that later. So basically, I was watching these YouTubers because they had POTS, not because they had EDS or gastroparesis or anything like that. And I really just did not, it never crossed my mind that I would be someone with EDS. The symptoms just didn't match with me. I was like, no, like I'm flexible, but like that's normal, you know. Like, I just assumed that my pain and like my hypermobility was like normal. Like, I just assumed that like everyone could do it. Like, the criteria for like an EDS type 3 diagnosis, which one I have the Ehlers-Danlos hypermobility type, which is type 3. I was like, well, can't everyone do that? Like, seriously? Like, I did not feel like it was a problem. I didn't feel like, I just did not identify in any way with an EDS diagnosis. I didn't feel like I had it, nothing. So I think it was after I got diagnosed with POTS that I kind of like started looking more into EDS and thinking, well, you know, maybe I do have this because, you know, I do suffer with joint pain. It would explain my POTS, it would explain my slow digestion, it would explain my constipation. So I really was taking that into consideration. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I just like to diagnose myself over the internet. And guys, I have yet to be wrong, so I would take my opinion very seriously. Anyway, so when I was at my alternative school, before I left there, for about a month, my thumb really hurt, and I had no recollection of hurting it, so I just assumed that I hurt it in my sleep. Now, this is kind of like a weird thing to assume, but this is coming from someone who has night terrors and nightmares like every single night, like sometimes multiple times a night. So and it's happened before where I have been having a violent dream and have woken myself up by like hitting my hand or something, and it's really hurt. So I just assumed that like I hurt my thumb in my dream or something, and that I just didn't wake up or didn't realize it. So eventually, you know, I kept telling my mom, like, you know, my thumb like really hurts, like I don't really know what's going on. And she was like, yeah, well, like, we'll see you in another week. You know, she kind of kept saying that until it was about like a month to 5 weeks after it had been hurting. So it had been hurting for that long. So we went to my children's clinic, which is just where my pediatrician works. It's not a hospital or anything. And they're like, okay, well, yeah, your joint is really swollen, which, just saying, is not a sign of EDS. Well, I'll get to that later. But she was like, I guess it like could be broken. Like, you could either go to Children's Hospital, which is my hospital with my gastroenterologist, cardiologist, geneticist. That's where all of my people work, my treatment team, and my psychiatrist. So she's like, you can either go to Children's Hospital or you can go to this walk-in clinic where you can just get x-rayed and they'll look at it. And I was like, okay, like, we'll just do that. Like, that's pretty close to where we were at the time, so we decided to just go there because Children's would probably close by the time we got there, stuff like that. So we went to this clinic, and they x-rayed my finger. They're like, it's not broken. It looks like there's like scar tissue in your finger, but it's definitely not broken. But the thing is, your joint is extremely swollen, a lot more swollen than your other thumb is. And I was like, yeah, I really don't think anything happened. They're like, okay. So they just gave me a brace to wear for 3 weeks. Then I had another appointment where they were gonna take off the brace and all the tape and stuff, and they were gonna x-ray it again, and then another specialist was gonna talk to me. So she was like, yep, it looks about the same as it did last time. I don't think it's broken. And this is when I told her about my concern with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and she said, well, I mean, it's possible that you have EDS, but this is not a symptom of EDS. This is more of a symptom of an autoimmune disease. And I was like, okay. So she wrote up a bunch of blood work, and we went to this Children's Hospital specialty clinic that's basically just like an extremely small version of Children's Hospital. And they took my blood. I think they took like 5 vials, but it was also stuff that my cardiologist had asked me to get done. And we got a call a few days later saying everything's totally normal, but we still want you to go see a rheumatologist. And I was like, that is strange. I was confused because they said everything was normal. So I was just like, I mean, I don't know why we're gonna go to the rheumatologist anyway if you said all the blood work is normal, but whatever. So we went to the rheumatologist about a month or so later, and I went with my dad. And he basically pretty much from the bat started asking us questions about EDS. Like, no, like, we don't have any relatives diagnosed with it, nothing like that. We don't have any Marfan syndrome in our family. So he was like, okay, well, I'm like pretty sure you have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome type 3. So he did all the testing for it and stuff like that, and he gave me like I'm pretty sure diagnosis. So we were like, okay, like, we'll just go with that for now and tell her doctors about it. So we went to my cardiologist about a couple weeks to like a month later, and she was like, yeah, that diagnosis makes sense. And then my mom was really asking questions about like, who do we see for this diagnosis? Like, how do we treat the symptoms and stuff like that? Because if you don't know, EDS is not something you can cure. It is a genetic disease that you're born with, and it is mostly just treating the symptoms. So my cardiologist said that they have a geneticist at Children's Hospital that specializes in Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and that she wasn't taking any more patients, but that she could see me one time. So we got that appointment, and we went to her. Now, I was pretty much feeling like, you know, like, I think I have EDS, like, it explains everything, but I was kind of anxious that I wouldn't, because then we'd have all these unanswered questions again. But we went to her, and she was really nice. The nurse who came and did the test first actually used to work at my old treatment center, so that was pretty cool. But she was like, yeah, pretty sure you have EDS. And then the doctor came in, she did the testing, she's like, yeah, you definitely have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome type 3. And I was like, okay, like, that's what we thought. And then she referred me to a pain management clinic that I'm not going to get into until September, which is very frustrating, but it is the only pain management clinic like that for children within like 200 miles of where we live. So it's pretty much our only option, and it's very filled up, obviously. So yeah, after we got the diagnosis, we had a special like data analysis person, I don't really know, but he took blood from us, tested my hypermobility, tested my family's hypermobility and their blood, and then took this into his consideration, kind of trying to find a genetic component or something that would be able to diagnose EDS without just having to do like physical things. So basically every type of EDS, so there's 13 types, I'm pretty sure, and the hypermobility type is the only type that you cannot test with just like with like a blood draw or something like that. So that's what they're trying to do, is trying to find the like genetic mutation of the EDS. Hypermobility type 3, and my mom was like, yep, let's do that, because, you know, love to help other people. So yeah, that is basically how I got my Ehlers-Danlos diagnosis. I can do another video talking about my history with EDS and like what parents we think I got it from and how it affects me. But for right now, I'm just going to keep this video short and sweet. Bye guys.